yeah, and we would all like we would be really involved every like literally every day. Because even in class, like we would pray, we would like even when we learned even math, it would involve God. And I'm like, okay, he's everywhere. Like, yeah. So after that, that's when I like personally started getting closer to him.
In today's episode, we're meeting Marcelle, a young lady that has a creative mind, and even though through her struggles and sometimes discouragement from being at church, she still has great ideas. So, welcome to Tea Talks. Marcelle, I am so happy you're here. I'm excited every time that I have a chance to speak with young people, to be able to listen, and especially those that I already met your family, you're friends with my son, so this is very special to me. Thank you for accepting this invitation.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah.
So let's start getting to know you a little better. Tell me about who you are.
Okay, so my name is Marcelle. I was born and raised in New York, and then me and my family moved down here like 5-6 years ago. And I'm 100% Dominican. My favorite food is sushi, and yeah.
That didn't sound very Dominican.
The sushi part. Yeah, you're right. But I don't know, it's so good.
It is good. It is really good.
Yeah.
How about your religious upbringing? Were you raised in a Christian home? How was that?
So growing up, it was like yes and no. We were raised in a church, but like when we were younger, we would never actually go to church. We only started going after like a tragedy, like Nicole said, happened in our family. So that kind of like pushed us to go, which is kind of like bad to say out loud, but it's like that's what brought us closer.
Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it's through suffering that we start seeking God.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens.
So that's what happened. And then after that, we did grow closer to God. And ever since we moved down here to North Carolina, we've just been going to church ever since. And
very involved.
Very involved.
Very involved. How old were you when your parents and these things happened that you started coming to church?
I think I was like 10 or 11.
Okay, so you were pretty young.
Yeah, I was young.
Okay, so this was the experience that your parents had. How was your experience? As far as like coming to God and church, religion, that kind of thing.
Well, my personal experience, honestly, I started getting closer to God, not even when we started going to church. It was more so like when I started going to Pisgah, Mount Pisgah Academy, the school I went to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I actually started building a relationship because everyone around me like was close to God. So I was like, okay, like
that kind of inspired you.
Yeah, it pushed me to want to know more about him. And yeah, and we would be really involved literally every day. Because even in class, like we would pray, we would like, even when we learned even math, it would involve God. And I'm like, okay, he's everywhere. Like, yeah. So after that, that's when I like personally started getting closer to him.
Got it. Did you ever had a moment, and it's okay not to, because some people are progressive, some people, they have that moment. Did you ever had a moment that you felt like a conversion experience? That's when it happened, or was just progressive?
I would say for me, it was progressive. There was nothing like necessarily big that like made me be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna seek God. It was more so like everything around me was God. So I'm like, okay, like, yeah, like progressively, like slowly, I was getting closer to him.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how is your relationship with God and church? How is it today?
I would say I'm still like on my own journey. I have gotten better at like doing Bible studies and praying more. I used to not that I didn't like praying, I just thought I wasn't good at it. But now I feel like I've gotten better and I actually enjoy it, and I even do it with my friends. So yeah.
What do you feel? And this is a little off topic, but it's like when you say I'm getting better at praying, what does it look like to you when you're getting better at praying?
I just feel like I'm more comfortable.
Okay.
And I'm just by better, like I'm just more consistent in a way. Before I would just be like, I think, like I thought it had to be perfect. Basically, I would have to be like, oh God, like this and this, but now I just talk to him like he's my friend, or like,
yes,
yeah.
yes. That's pretty much where I wanted to get, because sometimes we make it so complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really just talking to a friend like we're talking here,
literally.
right? It's a little weird. I'm gonna tell you that, especially from my atheist background, it's like I'm talking to somebody that is not talking back, you know?
Yeah.
But God talks back to us in different ways that within time we get better at it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned that you wanted to talk about it is being a Christian and having friendships with non-believers. Why is that important for you? And elaborate on what you wanted to talk about it.
Well, for me, when I saw the topics and I saw that was one of them, I felt like I personally could relate to that, because I do have a lot of friends that not necessarily don't believe in God. They're just not as close, or they don't go to church as often as I do. So for me, I wouldn't say it's hard to have a friendship like that, but it's just a little more challenging, because you have to, like, certain topics you feel like you can't bring up, or like certain things like, you know, you would have to, like, you just try to be a little cautious around them in a way. But I still do have a lot of friends that like aren't like necessarily like Adventist or even Christian, but I am still really close to them, and I still talk to them about God, but I don't try to push it on them either.
Okay, but you think it's important to have these relationships, or do you think it's like, you know, I don't need to?
I think it's still important. I feel like, honestly, all friendships, or even like family members that don't believe in God, I still feel like we can still show them love and like talk to them, even like show them like through our actions how we know God, instead of like getting mad or upset or just not talking to them in general.
Do you feel like because you wanted to keep this relationship, sometimes you're misunderstood or judged because of that?
I would say maybe I'm judged. Yeah, because sometimes people from an outside perspective see things that us as Christians or Seventh-day Adventists do, and they're like, that's weird. Like with not eating pork, or even going to church on Saturday. They're like, oh, just Saturdays. Like my friends are always like, let's go out on Saturday. I'm like, I can't. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because of church. And they just think that that's kind of weird that it's Saturday instead of Sunday, or
I think they would start to get feeling like it's weird. Just the fact that I'm not going out because I'm going to church is already weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And then to have it on Saturday instead of Sunday, it's even more weird.
Yeah, they're like, wait, it's Saturday. I'm like, yeah.
What do you think are the concerns of the people that are kind of like judging you? What do you think are their concerns because of the non-believers' friendship?
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Like, if people are judging you, why do you think they're judging you? What do you think is wrong with that?
I think that maybe they just, not everyone grew up knowing about God, or like at least certain things that we know. So maybe for them, they kind of see it like in a different perspective. They're like, they just see it weird or like different because they've never experienced it or had anyone tell them about it.
And they're probably afraid that they're gonna take you to a lifestyle that it's not Christian-like, right? And
even in this generation, or even in like schools, or just being like a teenager, just like a young adult, it's really hard because everyone like sees certain things as like not bad, like getting tattoos or things like that. People probably see that as like normal. Yeah. But for us, it's like we can't do that. Like so that's probably why.
How do you protect yourself from falling into the things that are not well accepted in the Christian community? How do you protect to not fall into those things? By keeping these friendships, you know, their concern is, what if you start having that lifestyle? So how do you protect from not allowing that to happen?
I would say you have to have like a lot of, I'm trying to think of the word. It's like a lot of like self-respect, or just like enough like, what's the word when you're just
self-control?
Like self-control, or just being like really like you're staying true to your belief in a way. Like you know what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, and just sticking with that, or like knowing when to say no, I can't do that, or I don't believe in that, or I can't do that because of my religion. It's like, it's hard because you don't want to lose your friends, but it's something like you have to learn how to like do, or just
stand to for your own principles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I know it's difficult, but when you know what you believe, you know, but also we have to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes I give this kind of like an example. If you know that those are your temptations and you are around that, there is a possibility that you're gonna fall, you know. But if you know your beliefs, you know you have a strong foundation, then it's okay. Like I'm in a phase of my life, I'm much older, no, just a little bit older.
Just a little.
That I'm okay to be around people that have a different lifestyle, because that is not gonna affect me. But I need to know where I am, because otherwise, instead of you bringing them to God, they will take you away from God.
Exactly.
And I know that's pretty much the fear that most of the older generation has.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about church? Do you enjoy? Do you have some things that bother you? How's your relationship with church?
Personally, I enjoy going to church. The problem I have is just waking up in the morning.
Okay.
Because church is so early. But I actually enjoy going to church and just getting ready. And sometimes the topics are really good. But that's another thing. I feel like some topics like can be more like for either the younger generation or just something that we can relate to more. Because usually when I go, at least to my church, the pastor's just talking about like things like back then or Ellen G. White, and it's like sometimes it's hard to relate to that or even like pay attention, because you're just like, oh, okay, like I understand, but I don't really understand, because that's like,
I understand, but I don't understand. I get it. I get it. Okay.
So it's hard to understand with certain topics, but if there's like more topics or maybe more youth pastors or pastors just that like talk more to the youth, then it would be a little more enjoyable or more,
And do you think that's the struggle that the majority of young people that are not interested in church, what they're going through?
I think, that's the biggest thing right now, is just paying attention, but like certain topics are just hard to like focus or even listen to. When you're like, you can't really relate. It
looks like from what you're telling me, your church is more geared for the older generation.
Yeah, no, it is.
It is. How do you feel about that? That you feel, it looks like there is this big gap between the younger generation, how they like the worship style, and how the older generation. Do you feel isolated? How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't necessarily say I feel isolated. I just, I feel, I'm not sure, like, I just can't really, I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's like we're kind of like separated in a way. Like there's the adults and then there's like us. And they have like, they believe certain things and then we kind of see things differently. So I don't know. It's just kind of hard. But yeah, it's honestly hard to explain. It's just hard for the youth.
Do you have like practical tips of things that church can do to make it more engaging?
I would say maybe have more activities, maybe after church, or even just doing things that like involve us more, or just things that we relate to more. So for example, like, you know the app TikTok, right? So I'm not saying my church needs to have a TikTok, but if they did have one and they would like post videos, just like church related things, that would kind of bring us like more, just because like that's something we're always on. So I would just say like things that we're more into, if they could like mash that together and like, so we can both like, enjoy it.
You're starting to give me ideas here. Because what you just said is something very practical, not very easy, but very practical. How do you see you, a young adult, being able to help the church become more engaging?
Well, for me, I would say I can help either talk to youth, just because I already know, and like I know what they like know, I guess, and like we can relate more than if somebody older is talking to them. So I would say like talk to more youth, or just try to bring more youth in, or yeah, just
How about creating a TikTok page?
oh, maybe that too. Yeah. Yeah.
This was really good. I really enjoyed. Marcelle, thank you so much for taking the time to come here to do this interview with me. And I hope that you can start helping out with the engagement that you see that is missing. It just came to my head. I was like, hey, this is something you could do it.
That is true. Maybe there are some things, because I'm sitting here and I'm telling you these ideas, but I can also like help my church or tell them since they probably don't know these things.
But you know what? This is why these conversations are good. Because sometimes you're in your house, you're upset, discouraged because things are not happening. And sometimes when you're in that mood, nothing comes to mind.
Yeah.
And then I start asking a question. You gave a great idea.
You're like, wait. Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes both sides. It takes the older generation to be more open, but also takes the younger generation. How can I help? You know, so... See, that's why this is good. That's why conversations are good. Thank you so much. This was great.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.